Hello YouTube and Game of Thrones fans. This is the Six Sigma, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the premiere of Season 7 of Game of Thrones. So this episode seemed to definitely set the stage for the future of this season and beyond, as we saw a couple different characters prepare for upcoming battles. Now during my recaps of last season, I discussed the events in the individual episodes and added some analysis in some of those videos. However, this season, I plan on making these recaps in a different manner. For the sake of brevity, I'm going to only be examining a few lines and scenes that might have major implications for the storyline in a segment I'm going to call a look ahead. I figured since we both watched the episode in full, there's really no need to recap what we just saw, so the focus will be on what parts of the episode were hinting at things to come, what are the hints we might have missed, and where the show will be going in the future. So, let's begin. So one of the first seemingly unimportant but extremely significant scenes of this episode included Bran and Meera at the wall. After talking to Ed, the two are granted passage through the wall, which might have some major implications this season. As I mentioned at the end of last season and before the beginning of this season, there is a good chance that Bran crossing the wall will negate its powers that keep the White Walkers out of the north, mainly because he's marked. In addition, there have been other scenes in the show that foreshadow that the wall might be knocked down altogether. In this episode, there was another hinting scene that might also support that theory. When Sam was talking to the Maester at the Citadel, the Maester kept going on about how the wall had stood for thousands of years, despite all the perils the world has gone through. How ironic would it be if this was the one time that the wall was brought down? If it were to happen, that might be a solid way to end this season, considering the fact that the battle between the White Walkers and Westeros will likely be the focus of the last season. Now the next small detail from this episode is the brewing tension between Jon and Sansa. Since her escape from Ramsay, Sansa has asserted herself more than ever, but her power seems to be going to her head a little. Her open challenging of Jon's word during the meeting with the Northerners might be a sign of trouble to come this season. Not to mention that Baelish is still creeping and probably looking for every opportunity to turn Sansa against Jon. Who knows how this plot will develop, but for now it looks like the growing feeling is that Sansa's defiance is definitely something to take note of moving forward. Next, we had Cersei's storyline, which might have yielded some of the most important fodder for future episodes. Now there are really two important aspects to her story in this episode. The first was covered mostly in the scene between her and Jaime with the fresh painting of Westeros on the floor. Now that they are the only two left, Jaime is starting to see the bleakness of the situation. Cersei shares her idea that they could launch a dynasty that would last 1,000 years, and Jaime has to remind her that they are the only Lannisters left, and that their children are all dead. He is beginning to realize that he is leaving no legacy behind, which plays in well with his fear from earlier on in the show. Now I've discussed the theory that Jaime might kill Cersei before. Were these scenes further evidence that the show is foreshadowing that fate? I'm going to say more than likely. However, there is still the chance that Arya is the one to kill Cersei instead, considering that she announced in this episode that she was heading to kill the Queen as well. We'll just have to wait and see. The other important aspect to Cersei's story was Euron. After Euron had his fun indirectly mocking Jaime, he mentioned to Cersei before he left that the way to a woman's heart was with a gift, an invaluable gift. Does that mean he'll be attempting to capture Tyrion? He would be the type of invaluable gift needed to gain her trust. The odds seem more than likely that he will try to. It still seems though like a stretch for him to succeed in his attempt, but it will probably show up in the next episode or two. Now my favorite part of this episode was another seemingly unimportant sequence to the show, and that was the conversation between Beric Dondarrion and the Hound. Now in the video I made before the premiere, I discussed a theory regarding Bran possibly being the Lord of Light. If you didn't get a chance to see it, feel free to check it out for a little bit more discussion on the issue. In short, that video talked about the possibility that Bran is what the Red Priests consider the Lord of Light, and that his ability to influence the past is being mistaken for the Lord of Light's power. So how is that related to Beric Dondarrion? Well, in that video I speculated that Beric's revivals might actually be Bran bringing him back instead of the Lord of Light. Why, you ask? Well, maybe Beric plays an important role in Jon's destiny. From the trailers it looks like Beric meets up with Jon in the north. If he fights alongside Jon, Maybe he is crucial to Jon's future, and that might be the reason that Bran brings him back. If this is true, it would obviously be something we discover later, as Bran would need to develop his ability to influence the past in a more controlled and consistent manner. Lastly, we received some indirect hints in this episode regarding the direction of Daenerys' storyline. While she arrives at Dragonstone and makes herself at home, there was another scene that indicated where her story might be going. Remember when Sam was looking at the book that showed the dragon glass being mined at Dragonstone, and then he said he needs to tell Jon? Well, as you probably guessed it, this will likely be the catalyst that brings these two storylines together. Add this to the fact that Ser Jorah is back in the picture, and Daenerys' storyline gets a little clearer for Season 7 as we move forward. Sam will likely tell Jon to head to Dragonstone for the Dragonglass, and Jon will likely ask Daenerys to help against the White Walker threat. But his efforts will likely be futile since she came to take the Iron Throne. Maybe she needs a loss on the battlefield or to feel the White Walker threat to understand the severity of the situation. Until then, we can only wait and see what will happen as Episode 2 airs this Sunday. Thank you for watching this video, and make sure to like it and subscribe for more Game of Thrones videos as well as other related content. Take care.